Yes, podcasting is blowing up, but there's a specific reason why you as a founder should have one, right? It's the easiest way, the fastest way to make a ton of content, get in front of your ideal prospects consistently, and make a ton of connections. It's just unlimited reasons why you should have a podcast right now. What's up, people? I'm Chris. Thanks for tuning in. And today I want to get into why you as a startup founder should have your own platform. Now, podcasting is obviously everywhere. Everybody has a show. There are a lot of different topics out there, multiple industries. Like, it's a real massive market that's constantly growing. And there's a lot of reasons why that's happening. See, podcasting is one of those things that you can do as a content creator, as a business owner. And then when you do that one thing, you get a bunch of stuff from it, right? Like, once you create one piece of long form content in that way, a lot of stuff comes from that. And I want you to really understand why that's so impactful. See, because when most people are creating their content, when they're hosting their podcast, they aren't thinking about it in this way that I'm explaining to you. Right. What a lot of people do is they'll record their content and they won't even do video. They just record on their microphone and that's enough. They go and take that as their content and they post it and that's it. And then they look up and wonder, well, why haven't I gotten anything? So today I want to really break down step by step how you can start a show as a SaaS founder and the key steps you need to take to make your show stand out from the marketplace and generate leads. Okay, so the very first thing, positioning. This is the most important thing you're going to do with your show, is to create a solid position. Because there's a lot of competition in most of the popular markets, you need to find a way to separate yourself from everybody else. You don't want to be seen as just another podcast with just another business owner talking in circles about nothing. Like, I turn on so many business podcasts and then I hear the host and the guests talk about themselves and things that they've done for like 30 minutes. And then at the end, maybe the last 15, 20 minutes, they talk about something that's meaningful that I kind of care about. The reason why I clicked on the episode in the first place, right? That shouldn't be the back half of the podcast. So when it comes to creating positioning, you want to focus on making yourself stand out in the market. Now, how do you do that? I like to use different types of content. One of the easiest ways is to talk about trending topics. When you see something trending or happening in your industry, you want to talk about it. Like, I know I'm going to get a lot more clicks and a lot more attention when I make content about AI because I talk to SaaS founders. I know that when I talk about AI tools, SaaS founders are interested in AI tools. So that's a great way to stay in the conversation and be relevant in the marketplace. It's also a good idea to create solo content. The way I'm talking to just the camera right now is easier than you think. See, what most people do when they start their show is they make a list of 100 people they want to be a guest on their platform, which is good. But if that's the only type of content you do, it's really easy for your podcast to become repetitive and predictable and honestly boring because your audience isn't coming to tune in for you. They're not trying to listen to what you have to say. They want to listen to your guest. So you kind of lose your audience in a way. And as a little trick, when I do solo content, I'm talking to the camera, I always envision a camera as my ideal prospect. Like the person that I want to work with, I look at the cameras, I'm talking directly to them. So when you watch my video, you feel like I'm talking directly to you. That's the goal here. So the last thing you want to do with positioning is the look and feel. You want to make sure that your style of content and even the way you present your show on social media and stuff matches the type of content you want to put out there in the world. It never makes sense to me when I see these business shows that have the crazy cartoon drawings or the super royal and they think it's professional, but it looks really, really just old English style type of presentation. That just doesn't look good. You know, and if you are a business show and you're making something that's a little more serious, you don't have to use a bunch of crazy sound effects. Again, I think you should use some to make your content stand out, but it shouldn't be like the main shtick of the show. And I see this way too often. I think positioning should be done before you even do anything else. Just position your show. Think about how you're going to get new people listening, how you're going to get new people tuned in. What do you want the market to think and feel about your show? What's the perception you want them to have? For me, with my show, the Startup Founder Roadmap, I want founders to look at my podcast as a place they can go when they're a beginner founder. Like if you're a new founder in the startup world, I want you to look at the Startup Founder Roadmap as the perfect place for you to go to engage with other founders that are building companies and not just hear about the same unicorns. Like, I'm not trying to do that. That's why I don't even talk about most of that stuff. I prefer to focus on the actual impactful content, right? The real good stories of the person who came from nothing, who built something up, and not just the unicorns. Like, I know that everybody goes after those people. Yeah, they made $1 billion. That's great. But that's not the only thing I want to talk about. I want to talk about the other person over here that's making $20,000 a month from their micro SaaS. Like, that's an amazing story to me, because an extra 20 grand is a pretty great business, right? That's positioning right there, is looking at what the entire market is doing and doing something completely different. The next thing you got to do, once you commit to starting your show, get some equipment, right? So this is the Shure MV7, one of my favorite podcast microphones. As you can see, I have two. I have a bunch more of microphones and equipment all in my closet area. I got the headphones, all of the stuff. I don't think you need to go all out doing all of that. I'm not going to tell you to get every piece of equipment known to man. It's not necessary. What I will say is you want to have a high quality camera, a high quality microphone. I know you're thinking, well, I'm doing a podcast. Why do I need a camera? Because when you're doing your content, you're going to want video, right? So a 720 pixel camera isn't going to cut it. If you don't have a high quality computer with at least 1080p, you're already missing out. Now, you could spend about $500 and get you like the Sony ZV-E10. I think it's perfect. It's what I'm using now. You can connect it to your computer, use it on Zoom, on any other recording apps. Super easy. So now that we got cameras and microphones covered, you want headphones. Now, I know people ask, well, if I'm in my own office, I'm in my office right now. When I do interviews, I still use headphones. The reason why is because when the sound is coming out of your computer, it can go right back into your microphone, right? So there's like an echo, you have some reverb. It's so many things that can happen depending on how loud your guest is or how high quality your microphone is not. So a simple purchase of like $100, you can get some high quality Audio Technica headphones. This perfect, absolutely perfect. Now, one thing I don't advise is using wireless headphones. I have some Sony headphones. These are like the noise canceling headphones. I use them when I'm flying and stuff, and they're high quality, but I wouldn't use them during an interview, because what'll happen is you could think they're fully charged, but something always happens with technology. They're going to die or they disconnect. Something crazy happens. When I use my wired headphones right here, nothing happens. I just plug them right in. I'm sitting in front of the computer anyways. It's really easy. It's a layup. Just make it easy on yourself. So if you have a good microphone, a good camera, and some headphones, now what you need to worry about are your actual tools, your AI tools. Now, first, I think you should be using Riverside FM to do your podcast interviews. It is the easiest recording tool. It's the most intuitive. It is the best priced, in my opinion. Like, the pricing is perfect. You're not going to get anything better than that. Use Riverside FM to do your podcast interviews. It's going to be amazing for you. Now, when it comes to post-production, I think you should use a tool like Podium. After you're done recording your episodes, simply upload audio onto a Podium platform, and it will literally give you everything you need to produce, market, manage a show, everything, all right there on Podium. Really easy, right? So that's all the equipment stuff. We covered it that fast. It's not that difficult. Now, the last thing I want to say is when it comes to hosting your show, there are a ton of hosting options out there. I think you want to use something like Transistor FM. It's just the best platform right now for podcast hosting. You can have unlimited podcasts. You probably only have one, but it's easy to manage your show on there. It's really simple. It's not distracting. It's straightforward. You get a nice podcast website. And I noticed that I get a lot of listeners just using Transistor FM. Like, it's going to be a great platform. And then adding your shows to the other platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify and stuff, it's really easy because they have a whole distribution area for you. Super simple. And then with their stats, they give you the data on who listened, where they were, the countries, and all of that stuff. So you can actually analyze your content to see what is doing good and what's doing bad. So there's all the equipment stuff that you need to set up a successful show. Like, that's the foundational stuff, just the entry level equipment. There it is right there. Okay, so the next thing you need to do when you're getting ready to launch your shows, you want to leverage your connections. I've worked on over 1,000 shows at this point, and I realized that when the shows fall apart, it's because they didn't have any support when they started. Think about this. If you were starting a new restaurant, Wouldn't you want to tell all your friends, your family, anybody that you knew that lived around that restaurant? You would tell them the day you're opening, right? You would want them to come, even if it's not the first day. Within the first month, you'll have that grand opening sign outside. You'll have people lined up. You want to promote it nonstop. We got to do the same thing with our podcast. When you're starting a show, you got to make it a mission, make it your goal for that first month to really get people to know all about your show. Right. So what I do with my clients, I do press releases. We do promotions on newsletters, on other podcasts, on YouTube channels, everything that you can. You want to do it, promote nonstop. And most people think, oh, this is launch day, so we're just going to promote on launch day. No, your launch is an entire month. And sometimes it could be longer than that. But I think you should take the whole first month of your shows out to market it like a new show. Because what do people do with new shows when they watch them? They want to binge it. So you want to have a bunch of content ready to go. You want to be kind of ahead of the game in that way. So when somebody sits down to listen, they can listen to 3 or 4 episodes. And then with your connections, you want to have them promoting these different episodes, right? I think when you're launching your podcast, you should have like 50 pieces of content to promote it. I know that sounds crazy, but listen to what I'm saying. You need to record 5 episodes for that first launch month, right? And then from those 5 episodes, you should be able to get 10 pieces, or let's say 9 pieces of micro content from each one, right? So that's, you already covered with 5 for each of the main episodes. You should be able to get 9 to 10 from each episode. That's clips. I'm talking graphic content, quote cards, infographics, carousel posts. You can do a lot with that one episode, especially if it's like 30 minutes. Oh man, that's a lot of content. 30 minutes is enough content to get you in front of a lot of your ideal prospects. And again, we're doing this over a month. Every day you want a new piece of content going up for your podcast, because what happens is in that time frame, the people that don't know about you will learn about you. And then the people that like you only get to see you more. And then the people that are completely unaware they don't want to see you, they'll separate themselves from you completely. But the good thing is you'll be able to track more of the ideal prospects that you want to work with that'll like your show, because early on you're putting out a bunch of content trying to get people to see you. You're making them aware that you exist, because before you put this content out, they probably don't know who you are. That's just the truth. Like, your close connections know, but the other people have no idea. So in the beginning, it's your goal to get in front of all of those people, everybody, so then they can make a choice themselves. Do I want to listen to this person or not? Do I want to subscribe to the show and follow the content or not? But when you put out a lot of content, they constantly see you. So even the people that don't like you, that, write the hate comments, they're still going to see you. That's the beauty of posting so much content, right? When you post on YouTube, you should have 6 or 7 shorts and you link them all back in a related video to your main episode. So now every time somebody sees a short, you can get like 1 million views on a short like that. It's really easy. Now, every time you get those and it's going, every time those people see your full episode, then they get other content suggested to them from you, and you just continue to grow and evolve. That's the beauty of launching correctly. Okay, if I didn't talk about marketing, I know this would be an incomplete video. So the way I explain podcast marketing is it's not about getting new listeners, and you don't have to do that part. Like, the hard part of making people listen to podcasts is already done for you. There are already millions and millions of people listening to podcasts, and the ones that don't are starting to every single day. I kid you not. I research this data. I'm a part of this community. I know about it. So what you want to do is find the people that already listen to content like yours and bring them into your world. That's the real goal. When I started podcasting, I had to do the dance of, this is what a podcast is, and here's where you can listen, and this is what it's supposed to sound like. All of that stuff. I had to explain what a podcast was. That was exhausting. And now I don't have to, right? Now it's about finding people. Oh, you like this show about AI tools for startups? Oh, perfect. I got one just like that right here. Check it out. It's literally that easy. Because the real hard part about marketing is, specifically marketing podcasts, is people only have so much time to listen, right? And if they spend, let's say, 4 hours a week listening to other podcasts, but that's the only time they have, in terms of their commute, working out, cleaning up, that's the only time they listen to podcasts. You want to insert your show into that time where they're listening to podcasts, right? The people that are watching TikTok videos nonstop, or just doom scrolling on some platform, you want them to replace that time by listening to your show. That's the trick. So you have to get in front of your listeners where they are already. All right. I think there are a lot of people who underrate the value of like newsletters. If you're in specifically business fields, tech, AI, startup, all of this stuff that's like more online focused, those kind of people love newsletters. We know this, right? By the way, make sure you sign up to our newsletters completely free. Rock with us. Sign up to the newsletter. Imagine if you got your show to be promoted on that newsletter, right? And it's something as simple as going to the writer and saying, hey, I want to promote your newsletter to my podcast. So how about we promote each other? I'll promote you on the podcast. You promote my podcast on your newsletter. And let's say you do this with your launch episodes, you got 5, right? Let's say you do this with all 5. With all 5 of those launching, if they have, let's just say 1,000 each, you get in front of 5,000 of your ideal listeners. If you convert just 10% of that audience so they go and listen to a couple episodes, you're blowing up immediately like that, right? So again, I'm telling you these strategies because marketing your show is not about trying to convince people to listen to it. It's about getting people to replace what they're already listening to with your stuff. It's about showing them that, hey, you're already interested in this subject. I just covered it over here in a different way. I'm telling you, it's the easiest way to market versus trying to run a bunch of ads and I'm going to get people to do this. It becomes a lot of work. It's exhausting, super expensive, and you don't know what you're paying for. So I'm telling you, this is the best way to set up yourself to start a podcast. If you want to start a show, this is the game plan you got to follow. It's the perfect process. It's very, very simple. But if you do have any other questions, join the newsletter or hit me up on Twitter @ChrisPodcasting. Answer everybody's DM. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know. If you did not, let me know as well. I'll see you next time.